It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Magical day to all. Welcome to Divas That Care Network. I am Joyce Banning, and I will be your host for this magical, robust lifestyle show. I would like to thank each one of our listeners that have tuned in live and the ones that will be listening on to the recording on the numerous different podcasts. I am so very grateful and thankful for each and every one of you. And you are all in for one very special show today, as I have with me my amazing returning diva, Deb Matlock. And her and I are going to share about weaving nature into the holidays. Oh my, will this be a magical show? And with that, Deb, would you please introduce yourself to our listeners today?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. Hello, everybody. As Joyce said, I'm Deb Matlock. I'm calling into our show today from Colorado, and a beautiful warm fall that we're having here, very colorful. My focus and love in life is nature connection, and I have a business called Wild Rhythms, which focuses on the deep and sacred connection between people and the wild world and animals and the world of spirit. And I offer trainings for practitioners like life coaches and educators, healers of all kinds who want to incorporate nature connection work into their own offerings. And then I also offer workshops and retreats and one-on-one coaching. So looking at nature in the holidays fits right into my passion area for sure.
Oh, I love it. Yes, and it just totally, like you said, it just fits right in because that's what you do on a daily basis to help people incorporate nature and the animals and everything of the beauty that surrounds us into their life. Oh, I just love that. So how would you like to start to share with our listeners today about weaving nature into the holidays?
You know, this is such a fun topic, and we can go so many directions. And I was kind of thinking, we could start with some logistical, kind of practical considerations and then kind of work our way towards some of the more personal, ways for us to nurture ourselves in the midst of the chaos of holidays at times, So if that sounds good to you, we could start that direction.
Oh, I love it. That sounds absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things that's been coming up in my mind is practically considering the decorations and the stuff we use to support the holidays. And I know in my neighborhood now, their Halloween decorations are popping up, and a lot of them are just really fun and really cute and inspiring. And then there's some that are really challenging, like there's these big, fake, stretchy spider webs that are very popular, and people, will stretch them across their bushes and their trees, and they're actually quite dangerous for wildlife. Birds and bats, owls get caught in these. So I think one of the things we can do through the holidays, whether it's Halloween or moving into the winter holidays and all of our decorations, is to sort of take a moment and say, how can I decorate in a way that is really beautiful and inspiring and expresses what we want to express, and also is taking into consideration the wild animals, for example, that live in our neighborhoods and in our communities and that have to deal with all of our decorations, and they're probably like, what the heck is going on here, And I think there's a lot we can do to make that choice. Simple things like with lights, if we put on pretty lights, turning them off when we go to bed to help the wildlife at night not have to deal with this kind of unfamiliar light, lights and trees and houses and stuff. There's ways to kind of compromise, I think, with the world around us if we're conscious about it.
Oh, how true this is, because what comes to my mind is when I think of like Halloween and Thanksgiving coming, I think of what is growing out in nature, like the pumpkins. Pumpkins are always popular, carving pumpkins for Halloween and setting them out. And the gourds that we use at Thanksgiving to decorate with on the tables and stuff. And I just think of the things that are growing in nature that are part of nature that we can use as decorations, and yet keep them out in nature and be safe for the animals that are out there. Like, I think about when we take out the insides of the pumpkins, if it's not something you're going to use in your cooking, and like, what do I do with this? Spread it out in the ground. Let the birds eat the seeds, and let the animals get the nutrition from them once you've taken them out of the pumpkins. So those are a couple of ideas that came to my mind right away when I thought about weaving nature into the holidays.
Oh, I think that's a beautiful idea, and you know, we can take that kind of an idea and expand on it and say, you know, how can we decorate and celebrate in a way that does support, you know, like I've seen people take pine cones and rub peanut butter in them and then put them on their trees outside. And, you know, there's, depending on where we are, that may or may not be appropriate. And in bear country, for example, you probably don't want to be putting, you know, I mean, bears are working on getting themselves ready to take their winter sleep. And, you know, but depending on where we are, we can be in that responsible way. And like you said, of, you know, we can beautify and celebrate the season and celebrate the change and get in the holiday spirit. And we can do all of that in a way that isn't creating a ton of waste, you know, and a ton of like we talked about, decorations that can be harmful, and then don't have a second life, too. Some of those decorations, you know, they get pretty destroyed in the weather of the season and then end up in the garbage. And I think that creative, I've seen some beautiful wreaths, for example, where people have taken, you know, their fall garden has, you know, got the flower stems that have died and the plants are going dormant, but there's still these beautiful flower heads and have woven them into these gorgeous wreaths that are just absolutely stunning, so seasonally appropriate and biodegradable as they, you know, and just add such a beautiful holiday cheer. And also the act of doing that kind of thing, you know, us looking around and saying, how can we engage with the world around us in a way that celebrates the holidays in an appropriate, respectful way, also deepens our connection to this time of year. Because we're looking, like you said, we're looking at who, you know, what plants are growing, you know, what this time of year, what's going on in all of our gardens, our farms, our yards, our parks, and what inspiration can we draw from all of that?
Oh, yes, that's so true, because the leaves on the trees alone, as they're falling off, they just make such a beautiful scenery that, I mean, even raking a pile of them together and setting a pumpkin in them or something, just something that's more natural, that the animals are used to, and not something that can harm them or get them caught in. And it just brings to mind the other day in the pasture out in one of the trees, and I had to go up and look close because I thought, what is this? It was so beautiful. It was a spider web that had almost formed like it looked like a plate setting right against a tree of a web with leaves and little twigs and all kinds of stuff in it. And I'm like, oh my word, that is just beautiful. It was almost like a decoration that the animals brought into the fall season, and it was so pretty because it was little leaves that were different colors, and it was just even noticing some of the things that the animals are doing out in nature in this time of the year. It is just beautiful.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, and I think what you're making me think of is what are the natural decorations that are already around? Because, like you said, you know, my whole front walk is covered in these beautiful leaves of different species. So there's all these different colors, and you know, I try to leave as many leaves as I can in my garden, in my yard, and you know, I have to move some of them off some areas that too many leaves fall and it'll, you know, choke out the garden. But I try to leave the leaves for the insects that overwinter and for the goodness for the soil, you know, that the leaves break down. And also, you bring up such a great point. It's just so beautiful. Like, I walk out on my front, and it's like walking in this little wonderland of falling leaves and crunching leaves, and it's just like magic, you know, and it wasn't like that a month ago. It's such a beautiful the decorations are happening, like I don't even have to do anything.
Oh, I so agree with you, because that's exactly how I look at it. The nature is decorating the earth itself with these beautiful leaves, and I call them hedge balls. They fall off of the hedge trees, and there can be about the size of a baseball and even bigger. But if you ever pick one up and just look at the intricate designs that are in them, it's just amazing. And there's no two that are the same. It just amazes me to even just look at them on the ground and go, man, look how that one is made, and look at that one. And it's just beautiful. And as they lay out there among the beautiful leaves, it's just such a beautiful decoration out in the pasture. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, and you make a great point. Like no two are ever the same. Same with leaves. There could be a tree that drops a whole bunch of red maple leaves, but if you pick each one up, or even a handful, obviously picking all of them up might take a long time, but they're going to be slightly different. The veins are different, the colors are different, and then also from that we can also get inspiration for any decorations we might want to do inside our homes. The colors, and we see this. The fall colors often will show up in the shopping malls and in the stores, and we can make some of those choices too to bring in, or if people are harvesting, say, squash and things from their garden this time of year, they can be decorated. You can put them on your table in a decorative array until you're getting ready to do something with them. And like I know on our table we have a little pumpkin and some butternut squash right now that they're eventually going to be part of a soup, but they're so beautiful that they're sitting in the middle of the table right now. And it's just, we'll just let that be until we get around to making the soup, but they're so beautiful. It's like, why not enjoy that beauty?
Yeah.
Bring it inside.
Yes, just bring it inside. And out here in farm country where I'm at, there's been a lot of corn harvested, and the milo is coming now. And those stalks of corn or the milo heads, I see a lot of people will take them and just put them in an old crock or an old can or something to set outside as part of their fall decorations. And to me, that is so beautiful, because the milo, the birds like to pick the seeds from it, and it's just giving the animals something good that they can eat from the decorations also. And even like there's corn, once they do harvest the corn, there's a lot of corn husks still left in the fields, and just even kind of picking a few of them up and having them around that have still got the corn on them. I know my dog loves to run out into the field and grab a couple and bring them in, and she likes to chew on them. And the corn cobs themselves are so pretty because they're such a beautiful reddish-brown color. And when you just start to look around, there's so much to decorate with from the beauty that nature is giving us in this fall season.
Yes, and I think we can take that and extend it to the recipes, the menus we create for our fall celebrations. And this is not some earth-shattering idea. We think about it like pumpkin pie is very common this time of year, and when people carve pumpkin jack-o'-lanterns for Halloween, then there's often pumpkin foods that come after that. And the joke, of course, pumpkin spice everything right now. It's like I saw a joke on Facebook that said you could even get pumpkin spice shampoo this time of year, like it's sort of, but it is also a tip the hat to the season. And, so we can plan our menus around that too, which is another way of really deepening our connection and bringing ourselves into that rhythmic awareness of the season.
Oh.
And also it's easier to get those sorts of foods at certain times of year. It's, I don't know, like you said, you live in farm country. I'm guessing, fresh strawberries are not the thing that happens in October the way that pumpkins and squashes are. A squash, and so we can be in those spaces consciously.
Right. We can enjoy the nature's foods that they're giving us in that season. Because like in the spring, we have different ones, like the strawberries. That was a great example, because strawberries are more of a spring season, where you don't see the pumpkins at the farmer's market in May and June. So it's taking in and realizing what nature is giving us to enjoy on our tables for that time of the year. And you mentioned the soup that you would be making from the squash and the pumpkin, something you probably wouldn't think about making in May and June. So it's just being conscious of what is happening around us and how we can utilize that in our daily lives, in cooking and in fixing the holiday meals, and just incorporate those foods into it.
Yeah, and I think that's probably part of integrating nature into the holidays that is in some ways the easiest, because a lot of that does happen. Although especially as we get into the December holidays, I think there's a lot more sweets and sugars, and that's where I think about chocolate-covered strawberries have been something that I've often associated with, for example, Christmas. Well, strawberries really aren't a Christmas fruit, like where I live anyways, maybe in other parts of the world, of course. So that's where we can look at where we live, and it allows that deeper place connection. I have a friend who lives in Hawaii, and her winter holiday celebrations are very different than mine here in Colorado. Like it's very different. Same day of the year, and she's probably sitting outside in a tank top by the beach eating, very different foods than I am as I'm bundled up in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where we can allow our holidays to interface with the places where we are, even if we maybe didn't always live in those places. It's a really lovely way to sink in to our awareness of where we are in the world at that time, and kind of let nature sort of be a collaborator with us in creating our holiday celebrations.
Yes. Oh, how true that is. And another food that comes to my mind in the fall is apples, because apples are a fall season, and oh my, the things you can do with apples to cook with, and they're just so delicious, and they're so beautiful. Sometimes I just have to let them sit on the counter for a couple of days before I do anything with them, just to enjoy their beauty.
Oh, goodness, yes. And like apple ciders, I know around, here there have been a few community apple cider come and press apples and make cider, which is a beautiful, you're totally right. It's fall. It's one of those things. In this part of the world, fall some other place in the world is going to be different. And I think we can weave our traditions, and we can honor the ones that are already there, that are already place connected, like the apples and apple strudels and things that come around this time of year. But when we add the level of awareness to it, that it really is about deep connection to the places where we live, I think that adds a kind of a sense of beauty and sacredness to the holiday season that can easily get missed in the, to use a tired phrase, the hustle and bustle, but it pretty much describes it,
Definitely, yes. We sometimes are so busy on the to-do list of what we have to get done for the holidays that I think connecting to nature and what it has given us to help celebrate these holidays gets overlooked in the hustle and bustle.
I think it does too, and that's where I think some of the decisions we make also get kind of put to the side because we're in this rush and we're feeling overwhelmed in some cases. But for example, in a lot of cases, traditional wrapping papers are not recyclable. But you can find paper that is. Like I tend to save the brown paper that comes in packages and things that I order and through the year, and then you can make these beautiful wrapping paper, either leaving it the plain with a pretty cloth ribbon that can be reused, or you can decorate the paper and then it's recyclable. And the same with cards. A lot of people will send photo cards, which I love getting photos of friends and their families. And some of those are glossy and they're not recyclable. Some of them you can do them on a cardstock and the photo is still there and beautiful, and you can recycle it if you want to, or save them if you want to. But I think there's a lot of those sort of decisions that if we give ourselves a little bit of space to think about, we can make those conscious choices. I mean, I've done gifts for my nieces and nephew where I've given them an envelope with the first clue, and they have to go on a little scavenger hunt, and their gift was actually hidden in a closet or something, like wrapped in a towel, But the fun of opening it, quote unquote, was following the scavenger hunt. And then at the end of the day, there was no waste. So I think we can get creative and have fun with that, and also be in that partnership with nature. And how can we not add piles of garbage of decorations that were single use, and wrapping and things. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, and I love that, doing little notes for a scavenger hunt and then finding the gift wrapped maybe in a towel that they can even use and something that's usable all the way around. Oh, I love that idea. That is really a neat idea, and the fun that they have going on that little scavenger hunt.
Right.
That's really neat. I like that. That is cute. But yeah, just let your imagination go, is what I say. And I think a lot of times I feel in this busy life, we've kind of lost our imagination or don't let it work like it could. We're too busy with everything else. And let that imagination flow, and you'll be amazed at what ideas can come to your mind on how you can weave nature into the holidays and how you can help to avoid all the things that are just going to get thrown away and go to the dump, and rather think of ways to make it usable and recyclable. And our imagination is there if we just let it work.
Oh, my goodness, so much so. And, this may or may not work for everybody, but, going to secondhand stores can be a great way to find beautiful gifts, unique gifts. And sometimes, we walk in, I've done this a few times where I'm like, okay, I'm looking for a gift for these two people. Let me see if anything in the store kind of speaks to me. And then it's a secondhand item. It's not, it's kind of supporting that recycle, reuse. Donations for nonprofits and organizations that we all believe in, or that, more importantly, that the gift receiver would appreciate. Like I have received gifts from people in my life for donations to humane societies. And I really love that. It feels so, I feel like it's a special gift. The person is seeing as something that I value, and also doing something that I really appreciate. So I think there's just so many ways for us to say, okay, I love the holidays. I love the people in my life. I love the earth. I love the animals in my life. Some of our holiday decorations are not safe on the inside, for cats and dogs. And, how do we get very conscious about all of this so that it really is just a beautiful season that is inclusive of all the beings in our life that we love and care about, but in a way that honors the value system of living here together on a planet that needs us to be very aware and very conscious.
Oh, definitely. And so true about decorations in the house for your beloved pet families, because a lot of them are not safe for them. And rather than always scolding them to get away from it, be conscious. Get imaginative and think of another way that would be safe, a decoration that would be safe for them, where you can both enjoy it rather than always be on them and they feel like, oh, I can't move, I can't touch that because I'll get in trouble. And just become imaginative with things. And just like this time of the year around here, a lot of the schools are doing fundraisers. The kids are one of the things Future Farmers of America around here do this time of the year is they have a fruit sale. You order the fruit and they get it delivered to them. And to me, that is showing your appreciation to others, because I'm a fruit eater, so I'm going to buy it. So why not buy to support someone like that? And another lady came in, they were selling some coffees, one of the kids' group, and she said, I think that would make a great Christmas gift for someone. Just think of creative ways to be able to help others, and you're still you're getting foods from nature, and you're supporting a group, and it's something that you would buy anyway, but you're rather doing a support to someone else, like you said, the Humane Society, and I brought up different schools that are doing different things around here with the children. So it's just some ideas.
Yeah, exactly. And, another one that comes to mind when you're saying that are the local artisan fairs. I don't know. There are several of those that go on around where I live, where it's just a little group of artisans, and they might have little cards they've hand-painted, or, earrings that they've made, and you know, so much love and attention and creativity. And you know, it's not all expensive art. It's, you know, it's they're designing these little fairies for gifts, and you know, finding these beautiful hand painted, you know, note card sets or something. You know, I mean, there's a lot of ways for us to say, okay, what are the values I want to carry through this season? How do I want to make sure that I don't feel like I'm compromising those? Because I have sat there, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure we can all relate on some level where I'm participating in a holiday celebration that I feel like this doesn't fit for me. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't want a bunch of foil wrapper and things that I can't recycle, and I don't want gifts that I don't need. I have, you know, personally concerned about the consumer, you know, like I don't need these things, you know. And so you know, how do we say to ourselves, okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to make sure that I'm also taking care of myself, and I'm honoring the values, whatever those that we each all have, you know, that we want to carry into the season. Whether that's nature-based work, you know, connection, you know, for some people, the religious components of the different holidays for different religions are, you know, it's a very important part to pull in. And I think that we have to sort of be conscious as we head into this time of year and just say, how do we keep ourselves connected to that, the season and the truth of our heart and soul, as we enjoy the people we love and the places we love, and enjoy this time of year with all these different holidays that are going on.
Oh, how beautifully said. Oh, Deb, this show, I know we could continue for quite some time chatting about this. I feel like we just touched on a few things, but it was just so beautiful, and how you said stay connected to the season through our heart and soul. I love that. So this show is gone way too quickly, and it's coming to a close once again. And before we do go, would you please share with our listeners the best ways to connect with you?
Yeah, I have a website, wild-rhythms.com. And if any of your folks are interested in Facebook, I have a Facebook group called Sacred Connection, Earth, Animals, and Spirit. And I would love to connect with anybody who wants to chat further about any of all this nature connection kind of stuff. It's my heart and passion, and it's what drives me every day. So I'm always love to hear from folks.
Oh, thank you so for sharing that. And I can so feel that is your passion from your heart and soul, because your energy that comes off during this show, even just through us chatting, it's amazing. It's just beautiful, Deb. I love it. I always love chatting with you because your energy is just beautiful. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Oh, my gosh, I feel the same way about chatting with you, so I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, thank you. And I want to wish you magical times through the holidays and all the days to come for you and your animal families and your human families, and until you and I chat again on Robust Lifestyle Show.
Likewise, very much.
Oh, thank you. And with that, I want to thank all of our listeners for listening to this magical show with our amazing diva, Deb Matlock. Please share the show with your family and friends. Check out all the other shows and their hosts on Divas That Care, and remember some of the beautiful golden nuggets that Deb left with us. During this busy season, figure out how to stay connected to the season through your heart and your soul. And remember those values to carry through this season. And let your imagination go to think of different ways to incorporate nature and the beauty that surrounds us with it. And with that, I want to wish everyone a very, very magical day. Remember, be kind to all, including your animals. Give your animals a great big extra hug and share all your love with them, as they so deserve it. And until we connect again on Robust Lifestyles, stay strong and healthy.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.